What's up guys, it's me LSP Spectrar here in another video in Wayward Terra Frontier doing an update review on the latest big update. It's a pretty big update and it's got some really interesting stuff that I'm really actually excited about. I'll be covering from the big update 07000 Groovy Sandwich all the way up to the 04. The three additional small patches that happened right after the big 0.7 update. And it's called Groovy Sandwich, so who doesn't like that? I'm not going to be going through every single thing. I left out a couple, but I am going to be going through most of it, kind of trying to explain what maybe some of it means a little bit. But here we go. So first off, fixed the end of the Pirates Cove entry conversion dialogue, which was missing a step. So fixing up the Pirates Cove mission, essentially. Let's see, arena fixed conduit connectors for the T2.5 large reactor. Wasn't really meant to in the game, but people were using it for inside flotillas. I wanted to include this one because I'm assuming it was a problem for most people in the flotillas. Optimized interior rendering slightly. The survival arena no longer allows docking or EVA. EVA equals instant death, because the architecture doesn't 100% support it, and it defeats the purpose of the game mode. I like this. I agree that it does defeat the purpose of the game mode, trying to survive in your ship, and so I'm glad they've implemented basically you are in trouble if you leave your ship. So I think that helps the game mode, to be honest. The above also technically fixes the bug where the game could get into an invalid state if you boarded an enemy ship in survival mode. So not only does it, keep the game mode the way it should be, but it also prevents a big bug, apparently. So I never ran into that bug personally, but maybe some of you did. He revised the design of a lot of prefabs, some of the things that are generated in the world. Changed which prefabs spawn in the orange zone to save the really irritating and difficult ones for other zones. So basically keeping that orange zone kind of mild is what it seems like, which I think is nice, because you don't want to run anything too difficult in the orange zone that just frustrates you. You want to wait till you get to the other zones. Added a warp gate into the middle of Pirates Cove. I really like this because it was a pain to travel from the warp gate into Pirates Cove, so it's nice that it's just there. So I'm glad they did that. Added turrets to warp gates. I'm assuming those are like defensive turrets when you go to first capture it, which I think is nice because it did feel a little easy to capture the warp gates, to be honest. So hopefully that helps. Buffed mass drivers, so they are hopefully worth actually using. Now if I'm thinking correct, and I wasn't able to find this out for sure, but the mass drivers I'm pretty sure is the big engine looking module that boosted your acceleration and your side movement, so it increased your thrusters and your engines. So hopefully that does become a little bit more useful. I tried using it in one ship, but you guys may remember I had a medium-sized ship that had shields that I really liked, and that had it, so hopefully that one ship becomes even better. Added an animation to current credit value when earning credits, so I haven't seen that yet, but sounds cool. Fixed a source of potential data duplication inside the pirate faction when reloading a save mid-game. So a lot of bug fixes. This one's cool. Exotic matter now only drops from ships which aren't the player's faction. I like that. Added a new drop, biomatter, from crew who die in space, which increases station capacity when collected. Made the collection of exotic matter and biomatter instantly apply to your currency tab instead of going to the ship's hold. So, essentially, exotic matter now only comes from enemy ships. You now get biomatter from crew, which increases your station capacity, and you don't have to collect it in your inventory and go do something with it. It's just instantly applied. I really like this concept. I think it makes exotic matter a little less game breaking, even though they kind of slightly fix that, but it also makes it so it doesn't just clutter your inventory. And I like the thought that you can increase your station's capacity through combat. I really like that. Designed a framework to allow portions of the world to be non-destructively regenerated, so the new updates can modify the world inside an existing save instead of forcing you to create a new one. So essentially what this means is that this should be the last time you ever have to restart your game. I know that was promised a while ago, but I think he was more promising that it was going to happen. I think he wasn't quite sure about how that was working yet. But based on this, it sounds like he's done it. So technically, you shouldn't have to restart a game if you don't ever want to again, unless a big something happens again. But I think that's really cool. Not only does it fix the save thing, but it also keeps your world a little interesting, because some things will reload a little bit after a while, it sounds like. But like you said, in a non-destructive way. So it sounds really cool to me. Made the Pirates Cove feel more cozy feeling. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. AI ships no longer get pushed away from ships that have their airlocks open for docking. I ran into this problem once. It was a weird, glitchy feeling sensation when it happened. Added a framework which allows modules to have particle effects associated with the exterior of the ship. We will extend this framework in the future with some fun cosmetic modules that will allow you to add cosmetic particle effects to your custom ships. So essentially, certain modules inside your ship will add colors and like effects to the outside of your ship, kind of like I'm assuming it will almost kind of look like an aura or sparks coming off your ship, or something. And then apparently in the future there's going to be even more of those, so that'll be cool. Make your ships feel a little more unique. Optimize interior scene transitions to reduce visual chaos when moving between ships. That way there's not so much of a stutter that feels like a frame stutter when you switch between ships, I'm assuming, which will be nice. Friendly pirates and Pirates Cove will now forgive you if you shoot them. I really like this one because I'm pretty sure I had pissed some off last time I went into the Pirates Cove and they never forgave me. So that'll be nice. Reduce the density of asteroids in all the red zones, which I think is a little nice. It'll be a little easier to traverse the red zone, because it was a little bit difficult. The interior screenshot functionality was improved so that it doesn't crash on big ships anymore. We might even make it an official function instead of a debugging function. So for those of you debugging and helping him find bugs, essentially, when you go to screenshot something that's a problem, hopefully this will keep it from crashing. NPC trade ships are now constrained by their own budget when purchasing cargo, so they won't always be able to fill their entire hold with valuable cargo. This makes piracy less of a lottery. I like this for two reasons. One, that he stated, piracy on trade ships isn't just like hitting the jackpot. And two, when you're trying to trade yourself, when you're trying to do your own trading and you see a ship leave a station, you're not just like instantly, well, there's probably nothing left in the station anymore. That happened to me several times where I saw a station had a lot of stuff and then I'd get to it and a ship was just leaving and they had taken everything. And it was really frustrating. So hopefully that will take down on that and make piracy of those ships a little less broken. Added an undo function, Control Z, to ship design. Currently it is limited to a number of undo steps, like 100. So you can undo stuff you've done. Now I've noticed that it is not a undo one click. It's like undo a period of time of something being placed down. So if you place 5 things really fast and then place one thing like 2 seconds later, if you hit Control Z, that one will go away, and if you hit Control Z again, those 5 will go away. And so it's not like a actual single step undo. It's more like a single moment of placing things undo, if that makes any sense. Hopefully the video in the background that I did of it helps make more sense, but I'm sure when I go to make some ships in some Let's Plays in the future, I'll be able to show it off a little bit more. Trade ships are docked at stations now. Trade ships which are docked at stations now have their computers secured by top secret station cryptographic bullshit or something like that, and can no longer be hacked until they undock. I exploited this a lot. I think you guys remember I got the big H-looking ship because I just walked into a station and hacked it and ran away. And I think another time I tried to do it and it just blew up on me. But I like the fact that that's no longer a thing and that they are protected, so you can't just walk in. It was kind of a cheat mode and I exploited it a couple times. So I'm glad they got rid of it. Coded up logic that will allow attack drones to work. Call English, I'm not good at it. So that's exciting. Attack drones are coming. Added logic to drone bays, which allow multi-drone bays, which are activated from a single module. So I'm assuming if you have 3 drones, you activate all 3 drones at once, is what I think that means. I tried testing it and I wasn't able to figure it out based on where my game was, so we'll have to wait and see how that works. Made some loot tables slightly less irritating. That's nice. I'm assuming it just means that loot will come a little differently now in certain places. Added a code for crazy awesome spinal weapon that's not in the store yet. So nice tease for some future cool weapons. Added assets for a number of new modules. Here are a couple of them in the background. There wasn't a lot that I could see, but this was just in the design page. There's probably some more that we just haven't seen yet. Rewrote save game logic entirely so that games can save and load from files, in addition to simply continuing from currently open save file, which allows you to control when and where you save and load, and makes save file management much easier, since compression is used to allow much easier sharing of save files. So essentially what's happened is that you can now resume from the last game you're playing, or you can load a game. So in the past, you only had one game. You had the game you were playing. Now you can have multiple save files, and you can choose which one you want to play. So I could essentially, for me, what I could do is I could have my Let's Play world, I could have a personal world if I wanted to, I could have a mess around world if I wanted to, and I could switch between all three of them whenever I wanted. Which is really, really cool. I'm glad he's finally implemented something to where your save files are independent. So in the future, if another update does come out where some new dialogue happened, but it didn't affect your current world, some new cool dialogue happened at the beginning of the game, but your old world wasn't really affected by it, you still had all the new stuff that would come, you could still have your old world, but you could start a new game, see that cool new dialogue, and still go back to your old game. So I think it's a really good idea. Optimized autosaves to be much less laggy when docking to a station. That'll be nice because it was very laggy. Added light emission data for a lot of existing modules. Added a lot of tier 3 modules, which will be used in future content. It's exciting. Added a number of station interior art assets, which will be used in a future overhaul of many station interiors. So it looks like in the future we're going to be getting a station overhaul, which will be nice. Added a new, because the last one was actually really cool. Added a new turret type with a fancy unique effect for use on a special ship. So there's a special ship out there with a new turret type. He's clearly not wanting to hint at which ship it is, but I have a feeling I know what ship it is, but I also don't want to try to spoil it, and I may be completely wrong as to which one it is. Added a framework that allows a loading animation to be displayed on the screen by any code, which will take a long time to execute. Being a super mega genius as I am, I managed to write it so that it can be called inline by any code without leaving context, so we now use it for things like that in the past would simply hang the game, like loading a save. So that's nice. This essentially makes the game run a little bit smoother and doesn't feel like your game's about to crash at any moment when something's happening. The survival arena no longer keeps track of cargo drops to prevent clutter. That's good. Increase the magazine sizes for slower firing projectile weapons. This was a big problem for me, and it was one of the main reasons I never wanted to use slower firing projectile weapons, because there wasn't enough projectiles. So that should help with that. Added an attack drone to the attack drone bay active module. So now we have attack drones. That'll be exciting to figure out. And hopefully he keeps building on these attack drones and repair drones and stuff like this. And so it'll be fun to, in the future, have a big carrier ship of just drones, or different kinds of drones. Fixed a bug with the research some stuff quest that prevented the tooltip from updating after loading a save until you research something. Good. Added a suggestion to the tutorial to press F1. This is what F1 does right here on the screen. It basically just brings up that tooltip, basically just letting players know that this exists and they can use it, because I don't think a lot of people knew that existed. Added a new story quest in the beginning of the game that shows the player trading and rewards an entry-level cargo hauler blueprint. So the game now has a mission that gives the player a good trading ship. And along with that, added a new story quest in the beginning of the game that introduces the player to combat and rewards an entry-level combat ship. So essentially, there's two missions at the beginning that kind of teach you both trading and combat and give you a ship that's made for both of those respectively. So that'll be nice. Upgraded the station energy capacity research dialogue to explain to the player that station capacity can also be expanded through combat, which we learned earlier. Reverse the order of home base airlock used when spawning ships. So like it's showing in the background right now, it now spawns on the lower half rather than to the side first. Which is nice because it's closer to where you spawn. And speaking of which, also moved the player spawn inside the home station. So as you can see, it's right there, just below where you go to active or make your ships instead of off to the right. So it's a little more. It feels a little nicer. You only moved like 10 feet from where you spawned last time, but it makes a difference, surprisingly, from the little time I spent with it. Stations will no longer force dead ships to undock if the player is currently boarding them. That's nice, because that has happened to me. It is now impossible for any bar to contain duplicates of the same NPC. Good. Upgraded the crystal finding breadcrumb quest to alert the player that they should go get the crystals since they will be valuable. Fixed a bug with your crystal finding breadcrumb quest that could cause the quest to break if you left the session while it was doing its thing. The crystal finding quest is now easier to spot, and spotting is guaranteed if you are on the same sector. So the crystal finding breadcrumb just became better and a little more straightforward. Made the first cloning vat research quest idiot proof. I guess some people were having some troubles with this, but it should be a lot more straightforward. Assassination quest agents are now slightly more common and no longer require the SSC shipyard mission completion, and now they always offer a quest. So it'll just be easier to find assassination quests, which will be fun for early on gameplay, I think. Improved the rendering of rocket trails. As you can see here, the rockets look beautiful. I really like the way they look now. It makes it a little more exciting to fire a rocket, to be honest. Corridor conduits now glow differently depending on energy transfer. Improved the rendering of drones and missiles. Added proper artwork and missile trail FX to rockets, as we saw before. Fixed a dialogue in the tutorial that was obviously broken and nobody mentioned for like 5 major content updates. I don't know which one he's talking about, but I'm glad it's fixed. Added SSC communication relay satellites to World Gen, and added a quest to kill SSC communication satellites in exchange for credits. So cool, a new mission with these satellite things that I don't know what they are. And overall, there was just a lot of general bug fixes and a lot of crash prevention fixes. So a lot of people that were having very specific issues in the game, parts of the game where it was crashing their game. It seems like there was just a lot of fixes for that. I didn't read all of them, I read some of them. But if you were having a problem before in the game where something was just constantly causing your game to crash, I suggest you look through these patch notes. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. And see if it's been fixed for you. And it might be the perfect time for you to come back and try again. Because a lot of crash management happened in this update. So now it's part of the patch notes where we talk about the story content. Added a new space dungeon complex in the red zone full of pretty tough enemies, so cool new dungeon in the red zone. Added many new NPC characters to the Pirate's Cove, yay. Added new portraits for multiple story characters, good. Added multiple quests that can be picked up in Pirate's Cove, or in many cases simply completed without picking them up, so more quests, that's always good. Wrote a ton of quest dialogue for the story in the red zone, yay. More to do in the red zone, it did feel a little bit dull last time. Wrote a ton of dialogue in general for various Pirate's Cove's characters and other red zone characters. New logic for loot unlocks in Pirate's Cove added, which requires you to advance the story before unlocking everything. The core red zone story arc is now fully complete and can be played up to the placeholder for the quest that will send you to the gray zone story arc. So awesome! We now fully have the red zone story arc, which I think is really quite exciting, because we had it only kind of partially finished last time, and it was kind of hard to tell where it ended. But now we have all the way up until it's getting ready to send you to the gray zone, which hopefully it's semi-easy to tell when you've reached that point so you don't get confused. But if you run into something that it doesn't seem completed, it's probably that. So you should know that everything in the red zone should technically be finished, which is awesome. So now on to the GUI improvements. Added a mission journal for tracking quests and displaying info for active quests. There's a nice little thing off to the side that controls your journal and your quests. It's really cool. I'm showing it off right now off to the side. So added an ability to control tracking of quests and objectives via the quest journal. Added a new screen overlay framework that will make a lot of GUI activities easier to program, such as in-game menu, which doesn't need a new screen entirely. Added a fancy screen blur effect for use in the new overlay framework. Redesigned the in-game menu from scratch as an overlay with modern UI design, so the in-game menu is just a lot prettier in general. Added a new GUI elements to the in-game menu and main game menu for saving and loading named Save files. So back to that saved file thing I was talking about before. There's basically a section for it now. Arrows for objective tracking now have new artwork and animation. They look really nice. I like them. Replace the setting screen entirely with Jan's new modern setting screen. I hope I'm saying Jan's name right. It's Jan, Jean, Han. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Sorry, I'm gonna say Jan. But his setting screen is now entirely there, and it looks really nice. Worked to improve, minimize, maximize behavior and edge cases for settings resolutions, which caused issues in the past. Added new options to the settings screen, which may actually allow you to reduce rendering quality for low-end machines. Added other GUI elements, which I can't even remember. Geez, you expect us to remember everything we added? Yes, we expect you to remember everything you added. Come on. Improved camera, interpolation, and smoothing effects. You won't even notice how much you like it. Added the ability to zoom out from your character from the ship's interior screen. I really like that. As you can see, it allows you to see your ship and what's happening. It was a thing that was slightly bugging me before, and I'm glad this has now been added. Added a fancy damage overlay grid effect functionality for repair device. Improved interior lighting quality, optimized interior rendering even more. Added a display of reactor heat levels to the ship's interior minimap, so the reactors will display that they're the ones overheating on the minimap when you're looking on the inside of the ship. Added special rendering for corridors in the ship's interior minimap. Added icons and animations for active airlocks in the ship's interior minimap. Added icons for existing elements in the ship's interior minimap. So the minimap kind of got an overhaul of what it will display. Improved rendering of ship status effects. Ship status icons now display remaining duration. Redesigned dialogue GUI. Added fancy text effects and sounds to the dialogue GUI. Quick slots are no longer selected with the mouse wheel. I'm gonna have to get used to this because obviously the mouse wheel now zooms out, but hopefully I'll get used to it quicker sooner than later. So that includes everything for the 0.7.0.00. Now I'm gonna kind of go on to what it does all the way up to 0.04. So added fix to interior crosshairs. Added a thread sleep to the load animation loop that makes sure Windows doesn't think the process is stalled. Added Windows, essentially, 0.2 added this thing that made it so that when you're doing stuff with saves, it doesn't, the Windows doesn't think the program's crashing as it did before, and so hopefully it gets rid of those problems. If it doesn't, you should probably let him know, so that the game doesn't crash. You know what I mean. Fixed a bug in procedural taxi quest saving, which could cause issues when loading a save. Existing saves will work fine after this update, so if that's been a bug for you, it's now been fixed. US date format forced to save files to prevent save dialogue string issues on non-English systems. Removed arrows from missile magazines, so people will stop asking what those arrows do. Why would you do this, people? Why would you complain about and ask what they do? They were useful. However, one good thing did come from this, because I liked the arrow system personally, was that magazines now pull from any clip around them. The only problem is now you can't direct the missiles towards the missile things. So there must be something in the system that makes it so that everything pulls to one that's closest to a missile tube. I'm a little concerned as to what's going to happen, because before you could direct where the missiles moved along the magazine, and you could create this little intricate system, and so I'm a little concerned as to how it's going to work now. So I blame all of you for that, by the way, that's gone, but it is gone, and I'll have to get over it because I liked the arrow system. Improved save dialogue, implemented a save delete option, added GUI visibility controls for interior. Fixed the quest to kill pirate stations at the Cutthroat base. It was clearly programmed by an idiot. So some just general fixes up to 0 or 0.04. But overall, I guess the biggest things about this update are the save information, the GUI improvements and overall look, and a lot of general crash and bug fixes. So hopefully this was useful for you. It was a very long update, a lot of patch notes to go over, but hopefully it was a little bit entertaining for you. I didn't quite know what to put in the background, but hopefully it was still useful for you. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya! See ya. See ya. See ya.